This is Paul Nobles from Eat to Perform. I am sitting here with special guest Sarah Stoiber Kumar. Sarah is one of the head poobahs in the coaching program, and she's obviously a familiar face within the forums. She's basically, is it okay to say that you're the Robin to April's Batman?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes I like to refer to it as like a two-headed dragon or,
that fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could just stop there. Two-headed dragon, 100%. So if you guys don't know, this one's going to be pretty funny. So there's a lot of confusion right now, apparently related to Lifetime. I guess I'm going to address this in the podcast. I don't want to be rude to anyone. So, somebody's asking the question, can you address meal planning today and services offered? I'm a Lifetime member, I think, signed up for Wave and paid for an annual membership at some point too. Frankly, confused about the services offered, bought. What I'm interested in since day one is meal planning. If you could touch on that, I would appreciate it. Well, we have a whole group that basically allows you to work with coaches on meal planning. If you have any questions related to meal planning, we give a bunch of tips there. And that's pretty much what is offered. If you had a question related to meal planning, and even if you wanted a coach to, meal plan a day for you, that's what we actually do each day. Coaches run through what we eat. It sounds like you actually have a 1-year membership, not necessarily Lifetime. Lifetime is an additional offer. If you're new, yeah, this is probably a little confusing. But if you've been around Eat to Perform for 3 months or so and you decide that, hey, this is something that I really want to do. Let's see. So how do I get to that group? When I originally spoke with April, I was told that meal planning wasn't offered. I paid $99 for a Lifetime Wave. I don't know what you bought, you know what I'm saying? And I really like to help you here, but I don't know what you would like me to do, right? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to do a podcast. I appreciate the fact that you bought something from Eat to Perform, but I'm not going to be able to help you. So if you can just email info@eatperform.com, we'll kind of get moving to the podcast that basically 50,000 people listen to each week. So Sarah's a little nervous, you guys, because apparently
Thank you.
She's never done these things, not three, 4 times a day, right? If you're not familiar with the coaching program, basically Sarah, myself, April, and roughly 14 other coaches, we all do these fairly often. And so this is not something that is new to Sarah by any stretch of the imagination.
So I'll just pretend it's a call.
Yeah, exactly. And for some reason, her audio is a little weird. Hopefully we'll be able to work over it. But I thought of a fun way for us to kind of break Sarah away from her apparent shyness, right?
Oh, yes.
So what I thought was that the statute of limitations on our Grandview Lodge story is basically over. And so what I thought we could do is, we'll get into the theme that we have later. We have a couple topics that we wanted to talk about with you guys. But what I wanted to do is talk to you guys about, well, first of all, I'll set the scene on what happened right after the Granite Games. Okay, so the idea was that myself, Sarah, Leonie, and
Jordy,
we were all supposed to go up to Grandview Lodge to kind of look over the place that we were going to rent for the Eat to Perform summer camp. So Granite Games ends, Leonie and Jordy come up to me and say, hey, Paul, we're like young people and we don't want to be with old people. And so we were wondering if it'd be okay if we stayed here with Caitlin. And I was like, okay. Actually, that's not what they said. That's not even close to what they said.
Right.
But it's funnier to say it that way. But
And mind you, it was a what, hour and a half drive?
yeah, in general, they picked Caitlin over Sarah and myself, right? So then what ends up happening? Now you have to remember, I've been with my wife since I was 19 years old. I don't recall a time since I was 19 years old that I've been alone with another woman. Most of the other businesses that I have, are essentially, with dudes. So this is the first business where we've had, a lot of women that work with me at Eat to Perform. And so the first thing I do, my wife's at the Granite Games. She's ready to head home, and I say, hey, look, I need to talk to you about something real quick because we had something happen, and I want to make sure that you kind of, understand what's going on, because I want to make sure that my wife was kind of cool with it. So much so that, at the time, I asked Sarah, because she was taking pictures, and I was like, yeah, don't post those pictures because Jordy and Leonie aren't coming, and it could look weird or whatever, but you'll get where this is going because it gets funnier as we go. And so I say to my wife, I'm like, hey, look, Leonie and Jordy decided to cancel on us. And so Sarah and I are going to be going up to Grandview Lodge. And we were, I wanted to make sure you didn't have a problem with that. And she goes, honestly, you should just send Sarah home, and reschedule. And I mean, like, my wife totally did not understand that this was like something that was going to be very hard to coordinate other than the time that we actually did it. But my wife wasn't thinking at all of the way that I was thinking, that, hey, I'm going to a hotel in Brainerd, Minnesota with one of the people at Eat to Perform. And so I just wanted to make sure that my wife was kind of clear on it and stuff like that. And she goes, oh, yeah. No, yeah, that's fine. It's totally fine. So it was like no big deal at all. But so we start driving to Grandview Lodge. I don't know if you remember, but okay. I'm not going to say this part yet because it actually is part of the funnier story later on.
Okay.
Anything you want to contribute at this point? Because I'm sure Sarah's is going to be way funnier.
Well, listen, for me, the other end of this was we had just met. This was our first face-to-face meeting.
Absolutely.
Coaching calls, and we joke around. We've got a pretty fun chemistry anyhow. But I mean, you're my boss, and it's the first time that I've met you, and now I've got to sit in the car with just you for an hour and a half. You don't know that part, but that's what was going through my head.
What you're thinking is like a total blessing, right? I mean, so I mean, what a lot of people don't realize about Eat to Perform is that, yeah, we've got like 60 people, but in general, we don't often meet up. We're
Never.
Yeah, previous to that, I mean, Jordy, lived in Australia. She comes to Minnesota. That's the first time we ever met. There's probably 30 people on the staff that I've never met.
Yeah.
And so we all meet, and we're driving up to Brainerd, Minnesota. I had just done the Granite Games. I think we did 3 events that day, so it was pretty tiring. I was kind of wiped out.
Oh, and I was sick. I was sick as a dog.
Yeah, she was trying to get me sick, and she's like,
I was trying to get you hand sanitizer.
Yeah, no, like what people don't understand about hand sanitizers is those are the first people to die, right? Like it's gonna be cockroaches and me because I didn't use hand sanitizer.
I was trying to save you because you were afraid of getting sick.
No, and then she was giving me like all this voodoo medicine and stuff that she wanted me to take, and I'm like,
yes.
No, not
Zycam is voodoo medicine.
Yeah, I'll just start eating dirt and I'll be fine. So we're driving on the way to the place. Once again, I must remind everybody that I have not known this person really for that long, and this is the first time we met in person. And so Jordy gave us an assortment of like cookies and things like this
Oh yeah.
as kind of a, treats from Australia for us to eat, right? And so I said, yeah, let's break some of those out, on our way to Brainerd, but we've only got about a half hour before we get there.
Right.
So we started having, I think that was the first time I had those coffee crisps.
Oh yeah. They were
Man,
amazing.
those things are amazing.
Yeah.
So I think we split like a coffee crisp, and then, we had a Tim Tam, and then Sarah goes, "You want some more Tim Tams?" And I'm like, "No, let's we're gonna be, having dinner in about 30 minutes. Let's just wait."
Mm-hmm.
And you said what?
Are you calling me fat?
And honest to God, I mean, that blew me away. It still cracks me up to this day. Then what did you say?
Yeah, I felt like you're trying to make me piffle.
Yeah. So then she's like,
and then you told me not to ruin our dinner. That's what you said to me. You're like, you're gonna ruin. It's gonna be a nice dinner when we get there. I was like, are you calling me fat? Like, I am not piffling. I don't care I don't care. Great. Everybody wants to piffle. I'm not piffling again. I'm done.
oh my God. I mean,
We'll have another cookie, Sarah.
it still cracks me up.
You ruined our dinner.
I mean, you have to imagine the scenario where you've only known someone for literally 45 minutes and you're having this interaction with them.
You were in Sarah shock. You really were.
Yeah, I'm still in Sarah shock right now. But for those that don't know Eat to Perform, PIFL is performance focused fat loss phase. It's basically, mostly what we're doing is kind of setting people up to not diet the majority of the time. And so these short periods, which we refer to as performance focused fat loss phases, they're able to get more specific results. And that's a little bit of Russ's question earlier. One of the reasons why we offered Lifetime is we wanted people to be able, we've always wanted people to be able to be very patient with Eat to Perform, right? And so part of the idea with Lifetime was that we could take people through multiple phases of performance-focused fat loss, and then they can obviously see the results that they want to see. So she cracks me up laughing with that. Well, first of all, you're a CrossFitter, but somehow you had me like pick up your. You
were my bellboy.
Yeah, like I had to bring her luggage. I don't know what happened to functional fitness that day.
I was so sick. I was sick as a dog.
You played us up the whole time. I'm sick, and she coughed in her hand. Can you do my luggage, right? Yeah. I don't know what Illinois women are like, but in Minnesota,
Get out of town. Oh, okay. Let's talk about what Minnesota men are like. I don't know.
They're just
toothbrush. Is it okay for me to have another glass of wine?
You're going ahead. You're getting ahead of the story. Okay.
Fine.
So basically, I don't have any luggage to bring up, and we'll tell you guys a little bit more about that. Let's see. Lori's asking, why isn't Sarah in costume? Oh my goodness.
I asked. He's told me no.
Sarah wants to be in costume for like every coach's call. Then of course, on Halloween day, like there's just no saying no. And so I show up to the call, and like everybody on the call's in a Halloween costume with Sarah, except for me, obviously.
That's okay. We bring the fun. You bring the brains and all the talk and conversation and making.
I hope.
Long endurance, of course, long endurance.
I bring the long endurance. I do not bring the brains. That's why we hired Mike Nelson and Brad Dieter. But so anyway, so I'm lugging. I just did a 3-day competition, so I'm lugging.
I was dying laughing
because she's supposedly sick. So I'm lugging her luggage up these stairs, which of course, wasn't that big of a deal, but we
I have a great picture of that, by the way.
Yeah. So anyway, we go down to dinner, and all kidding aside, I mean, if you get a chance to eat at this place for dinner, you should, because we both had a really good meal, right?
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the I have to say that was the, after, it's kind of weird when you go to these competitions. You can't always like control what you eat, so
Right.
I mean, there was a lot of pancakes at Perkins type stuff, and
Right.
so to be able to kind of have a salad, a steak, that was all
Covered in butter.
it was covered in butter. um
Yes, I was not going.
yeah, those little biscuit things, remember how good
Oh,
those were? Oh, those were so good.
amazing.
um but it was kind of weird because, like I said, you know, I mean, here I am having dinner. Normally this would be my wife in this situation, but we had a great conversation. Honestly, I mean, all kidding aside, getting to know Sarah, getting to know anyone in that situation, very personal, would be kind of nice. And we were able to share some stories and kind of have a good time. And
Yeah.
and not all of those would make for as much fun as what is about to be said. Um, so Sarah, um,
You just want to have a Sarah roast, don't you? I
no, no,
have a Sarah roast.
I'm just letting everybody know what your personality's like.
Oh, okay.
You know, so we leave the dinner, right? We're gonna walk the grounds, just to kind of see what it's like, and you know, we walk around. It's a really beautiful place. I mean, when people get there, it's going to be just unreal. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised with the venue, but Sarah, has a glass of wine from dinner, and at that point, I don't have my luggage because I forgot my luggage. My wife brought it home.
Oh, that was so funny.
And so I said, I need to get a toothbrush. And so we go to the front desk, and I say, I forgot my luggage. I need a toothpaste and toothbrush. And the woman goes, "That'll be $4."
It was like slow motion. As this was happening, though, as you were asking her, and she was coming to the counter to respond, I felt like I was watching this happening, and I knew what was going to happen. It was like slow motion. All I could think was, please don't, lady.
Well,
Please.
but so Sarah, like, basically, I start pulling out my wallet to give this woman $4, and I start talking, and Sarah basically like, puts her hand up to like tell me to shut up, right? And she turns to this woman, and she's like, "We're not paying $4."
I did not say that.
I don't know. Tell them what you said, because it was really funny.
I said her. I
Well,
asked
don't
her.
don't tell them the part about how much it costs.
Are you really going to charge him for a toothbrush? Are you really going to charge him for a toothbrush? We're actually here on a tour. It's complimentary because we are having some 200 odd people stay at your resort in the summer. So this is kind of our sample. Are you really going to charge him for that toothbrush? That's
Okay,
what
so
I said.
I need to stop you for a second. Like, this woman, she has nothing to do with the $4. She doesn't like walk away with the $4. All I could think at the time was, I can't believe this is happening to me. This woman is now going to crush Eat to Perform. She's going to tell everybody these Eat to Perform people are going to show up, and it's going to be a totally awful experience. So then I make one of the biggest mistakes I have ever made, and I will truly say I totally did this. It was totally funny. So tell them what I did at that point.
So she's responding. She's just saying, she has to. She doesn't have a choice. And I'm looking at Paul, and I'm holding my wine glass. His eyes went right to my wine glass. I looked at him and I said, "Are you looking at my glass of wine?" Yeah.
And I couldn't even lie. I couldn't even lie at that point. I totally did. I
I was,
was like,
you know what? There's a reason I am single because I can make the rules. What happens with my wine glass, where I take it, I don't, that was not the wine talking, that was customer service talking.
the best part of this, and I agree that they probably shouldn't be charging me. They probably shouldn't be charging anyone, because
No,
the majority of the time, the majority of the time, if you leave your toothbrush and toothpaste
I
at
mean,
home,
that is not a Motel 6. People are
yeah,
paying a lot of
yeah,
money.
it's
Yeah.
it was a pretty nice place.
Mhm.
And so but from my standpoint, I was like, well, I'd rather pay the $4 than
Well, sure.
kind of have this hassle.
Then have to
And
borrow my toothbrush.
yeah, and I didn't want. I don't know what you just said there, but we definitely wouldn't go there. Um, but yeah, so it was. Now, I just want to remind everybody at this point that I've known Sarah literally for 2.5 hours at this point, like in real life, and we've had this total experience. So what I did at that point, just to kind of end the story, is I went up to my room and I ate my Tim Tams by myself. And so yeah, that was pretty funny. Um, so now that Sarah feels totally comfortable,
Oh, great. Yeah.
we start talking about the themes that we agreed to talk about. And one of the things Sarah wanted to mention that for a lot of people in the coaches course, at least, and I think this is probably true for just regular E4 members as well, is that rest tends to be something that when you add it into the mix really makes a big difference. And we've got a lot of people that are starting to use their iFleets, and they're starting to see the value of it, though. Kind of funny little secret here, I did do an interview with the owner of iFleet, and so you guys will probably be seeing that webinar out there. We don't always publish all of the coaches course stuff. In this case, we will, because a lot of E4 members are starting to use iFleets. Obviously, I'm a fan of the technology. So talk a little bit about what happens with people and using rest as a way of, not having to have calories, keeping stress low, things of that nature.
Right. So what we find over and over again, and I think we've all fallen into that. I know I used to be a 6-day-a-week CrossFitter. And people don't realize if you pull back and take additional recovery days, we also like to call them badass recovery days, where you're allowing your body to recover. That's kind of part of the key to dropping body fat. Even if you're not trying to cut, let's say you're doing your normal, TDEE building up, you can still drop body fat gradually by making sure you're integrating your recovery days throughout your training, and then going to a recovery day and then training.
So let me give you a real life example. So I was talking to a client today, and she has been using her HRV for about 2 weeks. And so I asked her, I said, what's your best HRV day? And so HRV is sort of like, what is it? Is golf low score or high score? I don't even know. I should probably know that.
Golf low. The lower it is, the
okay. So it's the opposite of golf. So basically, the higher you go, the better, right?
Right.
The highest I've seen, ironically, is my wife. She's 102. So in the case of this woman, I asked her what was the highest she's seen, and she says 96, right? So she's has the 96 on the HRV. And I said, well, what's your lowest? And I believe that she said 68. She might have said 71. There's a lot of numbers. But the difference between 96 and 68 is like the difference between, being healthy and having the flu.
Right.
And so she's had like these major, major swings. And so we started talking a little bit. on, you know, what she can do to get better. And, you know, she was walking me through like her, you know, I work out 5 times a week, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I, you know, suggested to her, I was like, hey, look, you know, one more rest day, I think would make a really big difference for you. And in fact, you know, I use my wife as the example. You know, of course, Sarah knows this because, like, you guys,
Poor Vicky. There's a million Vicky examples. She
yeah.
should only know how popular she is.
Oh, she definitely knows how popular she is. You know, mostly because of you. But um,
I love Vicky.
but the reason why my wife's at 102, she actually complains about it because she's not able to, you know, get to CrossFit as often as she would like. But because of that, you know, she's recovered most of the time, and so that's why she gets these really good numbers. Um, and actually, I have hooked her into long endurance.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so I've got her. Well, we have a little bit of a compromise, and so
You're hiking?
sort of moved into the hiking thing,
Yeah.
where with weighted hikes. But as an example, so the gal that I was talking to today that had a 96, that's like having money in the bank, right? And so that 96 allows you to work out at 100%. Okay, so now all of a sudden you're on 4 to 5 hours sleep, you're working out at 68. You basically, it's sort of like, you know, making an investment with very little money, right? At 96, you got a lot of money in the bank, you know, you're going to be able to get a good return. In the case of the 68, there's no money in the bank, no sleep, you go work out, essentially there's
Right.
going to be no adaptation. And that's really the whole point. And this is one of the reasons why we emphasize getting better at exercise so much, because at the end of the day, you know, you want to be able to stress the system enough. So in some instances, you know, like normally mine's not as high as 96. You know, I've seen 92, 94 sometimes. Mostly I'm high 80s, right? But when I mean, right now I'm sick and I was a 76.
Right.
So you kind of see like the difference between 88 and 76 is only 12, right? 96 and 68, you know, it's 30. That's a big, big difference. So you want your swings to be a little bit lower. But for HRV, as an example, they basically have green for go, you know, amber for caution, and then red for stop. And, you know, like Simon was saying today, he was like, well, I have worked out when it's been red a few times, and virtually every single time I've regretted it, you know. And I think that that's sort of a lesson that we all need to understand a little bit better, that if we add smarter to the equation, harder is more effective. That's sort of the point, right?
Mhm.
And so that's what I think Sarah is really talking about when she talks about adding a rest day, because you know what I think happens for people. I mean, there's two things going on. There's, you know, when you are, let's say that you're in a performance focused fat loss phase, right? So your calories are a little bit lower than you normally would be. That's essentially stress. Okay. And so your body is going to maybe need a little bit more time to recover when you're not giving it. That's kind of part of the process. So asking your body to draw from your body fat reserves is going to be a little bit stressful. When you exercise, that's also stress. So to combat that, you need to what? You need to rest, you know. And so that's the only way for you to properly adjust. So let me give you an example of what ends up happening when you don't use rest adequately. You just stress your system all the time, basically becomes like a cortisol cocktail, and you will lose muscle in that process. And so that's not the kind of adaptation that you want. And so part of what we're trying to kind of walk people through is getting away from sort of this mentality where one, they're eating super low most of the time, but also, you know, they're always trying to, you know, go harder all the time.
Right.
Now, that said, I do think a lot of people do have a problem that they don't go hard enough, right?
Mhm.
But once again, that's similar equation to this. If you're at 60% all the time, you're not going to be able to go hard enough. I know for myself, Sarah's going to joke at me, but
Are we
you
gonna talk long endurance?
my long endurance day,
Long endurance sometimes is 15 minutes of rowing, and then sometimes it'll be a 15-minute run. And then maybe I'll get on the Airdyne for another, I don't know, 15 minutes.
oh,
Cycle that through.
I'm way more advanced than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the other day, I was kind of playing because it was a rest day for me, so my calories didn't need to be that high. I was relatively low carb, for me, which is probably like 200 grams of carbs. And I went into my run the next day and basically just didn't have it. I ended up stopping around 11. I was going for 18 miles that day. And, now, a lot of people are saying, well, 11's still a lot. 11's not a lot when you were going for 18. 11's kind of disappointing when you were going for 18, but I know why it happened. And, I'm still kind of trying to figure out whether this is an allergic reaction or I'm actually sick.
Oh.
But if I am sick, it's another illustration of how stress upon stress upon stress
Right.
isn't a plus. If I'd eaten a little bit more on Thursday, maybe I get to go to all 18 miles, right? But because I didn't, now I put added stress on my system and made things harder down the road.
Right.
And so for me to adapt to that exercise, it's going to take a while for me to recover. So now here I am, kind of, when you're under stress, your immune system is compromised. And so that could potentially be one of the reasons why I'm not feeling 100%.
Right, you're a walking cortisol cocktail.
Yes, and so that was the other topic that we were going, a walking cortisol cocktail. The April's not this sassy. That's the key to this whole deal.
You are welcome.
But so that kind of segues us into how you deal with being sickness. And we have talked about this in the past with April and I, but it's something that I think is really important as you're doing it, because right now, and there's various different ways you get sick, right? But right now, this is why I think it's an allergic reaction. Yesterday, when I would sneeze, it was sort of like there was, like, my whole head was hollow.
Ugh.
And like the sneeze hurt so much. And so that's what made me think it was more allergies related. But
this is the season, though. I mean, this is the season that, everybody starts getting whatever's going around.
You'll probably tease me, but actually it wasn't anything related to something outside. I have a really bad dust allergy. And
aw, you poor baby.
See, that's what it's like, like I'm the guy in charge and I get teased like this.
Are you allergic to the dust bunnies?
Yes, I am. So we were moving our television from downstairs to upstairs, and so there was a lot of dust being cleared, a lot of dust in the air. So that's what I'm kind of thinking might have been the issue. But here's the point. The point is that, one, there's a couple things. Okay, so first of all, we talk about being bloated a lot, and we talk about being dehydrated. Essentially, when you go low carb, as an example, you're essentially pulling a lot of the water out of your body unnecessarily. And a lot of people want to think that that's fat. Is it muscle? I don't think it's really muscle. You're just kind of pulling all the water out of your muscle, right? So you always want to have like that kind of balance. But the argument that we always make is that you're better off bloated than you are dehydrated, because you're not going to be near as good an athlete dehydrated, right? So in the last 2 days, I've worked really hard to eat enough carbs, eat enough calories throughout the day. And I mean, I just literally can't keep enough food in, and I've had a lot of water. That's the other thing too. People will have water. There's a reason why your body really likes drinking orange juice when you're sick. You know, first of all, you've got the carbs. You're going to be able to, your body is going to be able to, it makes the carbohydrates makes the hydration more bioavailable in your lower intestine, and so it gets to the places that it needs to go. So when I'm drinking water, like right now I have water with an untab in it. And so throughout this day, like for dinner, I had pho, which I took the picture and posted it in Slot. But that's got rice noodles in it. It's got salt in it. Obviously, a lot of water. I mean, right now, you know, basically all I'm trying to do is keep my body hydrated. And if I didn't do that, what I would end up doing is just keeping myself sick for a prolonged period of time. But
Right.
because, you know, my body is using a lot of the fluids because I'm sick, um, replacing that is a real key to kind of getting better relatively quickly.
And you didn't work today, right, Paul?
Well, now,
Right. You didn't work out today. You don't want to go push it. You're like, oh, I'm hydrating. I'm got all this sodium, so now I can go lift.
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, one of the best things that I've learned over the last, you know, 8, 9 years is that, you know, working out sick is like a waste of time. Now, you know, is there an argument for maybe going for a walk? Yeah. You know, is there an argument for doing some things in the house? I mean, maybe, you know, I mean, right now I feel like 40%, you know, so I'm not working out.
Right.
But if I was feeling like 65%, you know, something like that, maybe I would jump on the Airdyne. I have an Airdyne at my house. So I might jump on the Airdyne for 15 minutes at a relatively low pace, just so I feel like, you know, I'm staying in the game a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Vicky will often make the argument that, you know, you sort of need to sweat it out. And I do think that there is a little something to that. And so, you know, I mean, once you get back to 85, 90%, I think you should go to the gym, you know. But once again, I mean, if you have an athlete, it will give you this information. I mean, yesterday I was 71. I was amber. I don't know how the hell I was amber, because I was like, you know, death on wheels.
Yeah.
Today I was better. You know, I was a 76 and a red. Now, here's the interesting thing about HRV, and once again, we go through it in depth in the webinar with Simon. But what happens with HRV? Okay, so HRV is basically heart rate variability. We've talked about it a number of times. You know, I just don't know who's listening to what and when, right? So I'm just gonna kind of do a short recap. So basically, you do an EKG and it's got the little bump. Well, in between, there's a lot of little things going on, and that's what HRV is measuring. And, you know, the more, you know, variable it is, the worse your recovery is, the more stable the lines are, the more you're recovered, right? That's probably the most simplistic way to say it. And I have to tell you guys, like, you'll watch this thing, and it was really hard to kind of like nerd interpret, because I mean, like Simon and Mike are like really smart people, and so like for me to, that's sort of my role. I mean, I had to say to both these guys, I'm like, look, I have to like break this down to like the simplistic things, because I know for myself, it gets hard to follow at times. And so, but what ends up happening, okay, you're really looking at accumulated stress. So as an example, I might have been a red this morning based on the day previous, where I was having a hard time breathing, I wasn't feeling 100%. I sleep, I'm more recovered, but it shows up as a red because the day previous I was stressed. So a lot of times there's a delay. Another example I would use is on my long endurance days. A lot of the times I'll wake up a little bit early the next day for various reasons. Like I'll be more of a light sleeper as my body starts to adjust to the stress. So I'll wake up and I'll do my HRV and it's fine, but like the manual things that I input in, I'm like, yes, I'm sore. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm fatigued, right?
Yeah.
So my HRV, I think the day after I did it was like 84, which is pretty good, 84 in green. The very next day, it was really super low because obviously I hadn't slept better. So a lot of times it is a little bit delayed. And what's nice about this, it seems somewhat intuitive, but it isn't always intuitive, right? And so you think, well, couldn't I just do this if I took more rest days and stuff like that? Well, yeah, you could, right? But I think it is more helpful. I know when I first started doing HRV was about 3 or 4 years ago, and it totally changed the way that I was working out. Like Sarah was talking, I was 3 on, 1 off, 6 days a week, and I was working at 60% a lot. And so when we talk about rest and we talk about working out when you're sick, these are just things that are sort of unnecessary. And I think they're carryovers from earning your food. I honestly do. I'm just gonna call it like it is.
Absolutely.
We all like to eat, but if you look at the last 2 days, okay, when you're sick, your metabolism is going to naturally increase because your body is going to want to recover, right? So everything upregulates to try and make you healthy. And so if you're not giving your body, what it needs, to recover, essentially you're just finding a way to stay sick,
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as you kind of go from there. So those were the 2 topics we were going to cover. We do have like 11 minutes if anybody has any questions. Is there anything that you want to make fun of me on in the next 11 minutes, or some amazing story that you want to share?
Let me think of it. Oh,
Obviously Halloween at what's your CrossFit name again?
Northville CrossFit.
Yeah.
Halloween was fun. We had our party Friday night, and it was a lot of fun. We had people coming from slot. Like, it's always nice to have local ETPers. We don't get that opportunity all the time. That was a lot of fun. People making special trips out there.
It sort of annoys me that you get the full Eat to Perform experience and you're meeting all these Eat to Performers and stuff like this. I go to my gym and they are currently doing a paleo challenge. I shit you not. Yeah. And so like everybody's miserable. It's really funny though, because like Vicky and I are coming in, and we're obviously not doing a paleo challenge. Yeah. And I mean everybody's like
killing everybody in the WODs because she's eating.
Yeah. No, yeah. Vicky, especially right now, her strength gains have been just unreal. Yeah. And all the gals in the gym are like, "What program are you doing? What program are you doing?" And so she's doing a program that she got from Andy and Chris, but it really isn't the programming; it's the fact that she's eating food,
right?
And they're not,
Totally, yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, like, there really is no local gym, that we had a relationship, and we still have a number of those people. From shoot, I'm not. This is the best example. I mean, I'm like stammering through this,
Aw.
but we had a relationship with the gym across town. We're still very cool with those people, Kate and
Yeah.
those guys. Um, but yeah, like at some point I'm gonna have to get my own gym. I think just to.
I think that would be fantastic here in Chicago.
Yeah, no, like you guys are
Yeah.
totally. I mean, I hated Chicago, hated everything
Really?
in Chicago, and until I met you guys, and now I'm starting to feel like, I'm
Yes.
really missing the boat because there's just so many Eat performers there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so okay, so people don't seem to be overly sherry at this point. So
Okay.
since I'm not feeling 100%, I'm just going to shut this down. I appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully, the story came off fairly well on the podcast. We're gonna get like a million negative reviews. I don't know why these guys are talking about their trips.
Oh yeah, do this again. Yeah. There you go.
What was the typing thing? Yeah, the kangaroo fighting. Um, for the people that don't know that are listening to iTunes, we also do this show on YouTube. So so you can hear about my stories driving to Grandview Lodge with Sarah.
Yeah. It was definitely memorable, to say the least.
Yes. No, that whole weekend was a lot of fun.
It was.
We got to meet up with everybody. Definitely going to become kind of an annual trip. Actually, we definitely need to make sure that we get you guys set up for Greensboro, because my guess is, see, I'm sort of thinking that you guys are handling that.
Yes, I am.
And then you guys are thinking that I'm handling it.
Yeah.
Um,
I have the contact for that. We're have to figure that out.
yeah, so Sarah and April are planning on being in Greensboro, North Carolina. I think it's like January 19th or something.
Yep, it's the same weekend as the ECC.
ECC, which I'm sort of planning on going to. We haven't really done a lot of. I have to talk to Caitlin about that, but
Yeah.
so Caitlin and I, in theory, will be in Boston, and then Sarah and April will be in Greensboro. If I might come visit you guys in Greensboro instead.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, duh.
Obviously, you gals have a good time, that's for sure. So I appreciate everybody being here. Sorry sorry that we didn't really have a whole lot of time for topics and stuff like that, but we didn't have let's see, hold on one second, we did have one question. What's happening in Greensboro? It's like a fitness competition, so yeah. But
It's a WOD, it's a CrossFit thing, right?
I think it is, yeah.
Mhm.
So the guy actually reached out to me like a long time ago. Seemed like a really nice guy, and
Yes.
to be involved and have Eat to Perform have a presence there. So
Yeah.
really excited about that. Really excited about really the next year. It's not really a secret, but we're going to be doing the first Eat to Perform Open. Actually, at Sarah's Gym is one of 3 locations that's actually doing that. We might be able to add a couple locations in between that time, but for the most part, to enter, you just need a video submission. I think a little bit of a misunderstanding about video submission. I just want people to post like a 15-minute video, or 15-second video that's fun, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's not to be judged.
and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be all of your lifts and stuff like that. It's really, really more of a thing just to kind of everybody as a community go out there and have a good time. The nice thing about powerlifting total, everybody can do it.
Right.
You can do it at low weight. You can, do Doug Staley weights. You can do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so,
That'll be exciting. That's pretty awesome.
yeah, it'll be really cool. And what I think we're going to find is that every 2 months we'll do these at Eat to Perform approved gyms, and similar to what Sarah does at her gym. eat formers will meet up there, and hopefully we can find a local place. I actually do have a local gym. They're sort of dragging their feet, so I'm gonna reach out to them.
You should
But,
probably come out to Chicago.
well, I told you I'm going to be coming out to Chicago. Don't say why I'm coming out to Chicago. They, um, but they just have like a really foul name for a CrossFit event. But I do have a local gym actually where we are hoping to host the powerlifting total, even if it's just like a number of us, 10 of us getting together and having a good time. So I appreciate everybody being here, and we will see you guys next week. Talk to you later. Actually, you won't see me next week. You'll see Brad and April next week because
Awesome.
I'm going to a concert with my daughter.
Oh, awesome. Which one?
Neck Deep.
Oh,
Yeah, I bet your son would like Neck Deep.
yes, I'm sure he does.
Seems like his kind. Like I think that your son and my daughter kind of.
I think they would, yeah.
Yeah, they swim in the same.
Yeah, he's off singing Rocky Horror right now. Actually, that's where I'm headed, is to go pick him up from his theater.
Doing the parent thing. Cool. All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Bye for now.